Hi, my name's Jim. I'm a narcissist. I have narcissistic personality disorder. Making these videos for anybody that's looking to gain information into this disorder. Now, of course, I am not a licensed professional counselor. I am not a psychiatrist. I have a degree in psychology, but I'm an auditor, so I'm not using that degree. But what I do have is I've been diagnosed by a licensed professional with this disorder. And of course, these are firsthand situations and scenarios and things that I've associated, with myself throughout my life with this disorder. I'm recently diagnosed just within the last couple of months. And making these videos really for anybody that thinks they may have this disorder. Maybe you've been diagnosed. Maybe you think someone that you care about, know, or love has this disorder. Maybe you're a victim. That's it's very, very possible, very probable. People with this disorder do a lot of damage, a lot of emotional abuse. Physical abuse is very common with people with narcissistic personality disorder as well. So really, anybody that's looking to gain any type of information, this is of course my first-hand account. I have some other videos. What I try not to do is I try not to let my disorder run things. So one of the things my disorder loves to do is it loves to glory hound. So I'm going to try not to do things like, hey, you need to hit that subscribe button. Hey, hit me with a like. So I'm trying not to even know what those things are, right? Again, because, those are triggers for me, right? I don't want to glory hound. That's something I did really bad in the past, right? It's not a good look. It doesn't give me the mental health that I want for myself and for my future, right? So I am going to do my best to not glory hound, right? And I've made other videos. You're more than welcome to go back and watch them. A lot of them are about the symptoms and that I have. I even did one video about the symptoms I feel like I don't have because, there's no way that you have all of them. To give you a little bit of information into me, and there is different types of narcissistic personality disorder. The type that I have stems from extreme guilt and shame. When I was young, my brother and I were walking back home from baseball practice, and he was hit by a car. So what happened was my mind believed that my brother and everybody that knew my brother and everybody that cared about my brother blamed me for not stopping the accident. Now, that doesn't need to make sense, right? You can rationalize it all you want, and of course, my mind doesn't need to have rationality to still have created this disorder and to place that survivor's guilt on me, right? So that's how my disorder came to be, and that's really important to point out, because what I wanted to talk about today is my insecurities and my shame and my guilt, which fueled how my disorder came to be. Of course, people are not born with narcissistic personality disorder. It's something that, for me, it developed, right? Again, I'm not a licensed professional, right? Mine was developed through the trauma and the survivor's guilt. That was the way my mind dealt with it, right? It created the disorder, right? So a couple of the traits that I have when it comes to my insecurities is I don't look people in the eye. Now, I've gone the better part of my life and didn't even really acknowledge it. There's situations where people tell you have to look someone in the eye, like you're going to a job interview. You reach out your hand, you make that firm handshake, and you look them right in the eye. No problem, right? You tell me to do it, right? One of my symptoms, black and white. Hey, this is black and white. You tell me to look the person in the eye and shake their hand. That's exactly what I do. So when there's situations where you're told you look a person in the eye, I have, right? But I would notice whenever I'm in public, I don't look anybody in the eye. I promise you, I may have had the hottest woman in the world at a bar staring me up and down thinking, man, I'm going to take him in the bathroom and do dirty things. I'd have no idea, because I promise you, I never saw your eyes make contact with mine. It's just, I never make eye contact. Now, of course, all research shows people that do this, people that don't make eye contact, that look down, that's because it comes from shame. It comes from guilt, right? So now I know that whenever I'm in social situations and I'm not making eye contact with anybody and I'm not looking anywhere near their eyes, and I'm constantly looking down, now I know why, right? It comes from no sense of a low sense of self-worth, right? And that shame and that guilt. And that's something, like I said, I just took it as a weird quirk I had. Little did I know it was a symptom of my disorder, right? So that may be something that you might identify with, right? It doesn't have to be. For me, it gets a little bit worse than that. You know, my insecurities get a lot more deep, and I think if you've watched any of the other videos, I liken a lot of my my symptoms to schizophrenia, because there are times when I feel it's borderline, almost like there's someone talking to me or someone there that's not there, right? And I brought that up before. That's definitely factored in when it comes to my insecurities. So long story short, I've had a couple of situations where I don't know if what happened really happened or if it was all made up in my mind. And I'm gonna share those, right? So I've spent the better part of my life heavy, right? Fat, obese, right? Morbidly obese for a large part of it, right? And of course, a lot of people that have this disorder, and the numbers are staggering and overwhelming, have an addiction. I have a food addiction, right? Which of course, when let to do whatever it wants, caused me to get as high as. I'm gonna stay away from the numbers again. I don't want to glory hound, right? So I had a high weight, right? So and you can tell I'm not at my high weight right now. One of the things I do is I do try to exercise, because I was diagnosed with some health problems a couple years ago. And again, I'm not going to glory hound, so I'm not going to tell you distances and things like that. But one of the challenges when you jog is nipple irritation, right? And I will try to give you the funny tangent. I have used Band-Aids on my nipples. I've bought that medical tape. I mean, I have done just about everything. I have a very hairy chest. I tried shaving it, never doing that again. I'm okay with trimming my chest, but I can't shave it off. When it grows back, it is just, I can't take it, right? So shaving my chest is not an option. So the tape won't stick because I got such a hairy chest. All right, I am going into left field, right? So long story short, nipple irritation is a huge issue for me when I'm jogging, right? So I usually choose that unless it is 0 degrees out, I run shirtless. And because of some weight loss, as well as genetics, I have, let me not say really bad. In the grand scheme of things, I definitely, even before I lost weight, I had man boobs. So now that I have lost weight, they are saggy, and I am 49 years old on top of that. So this is a recipe, you know, for really saggy man boobs, as well as when you're older, you know, the skin isn't elastic like when you're younger. So because of the weight loss, I do have really bad saggy skin in the muffin top area as well. And I'm sure that when I'm running shirtless, it is funny. I can imagine, right? And as I told you, I have extreme insecurities. So I was out jogging and jogging on a sidewalk, and there were two girls sitting, and let me not say girls, two women, maybe somewhere in their 30s, right, sitting in lounge chairs, and there was like a soccer practice or little kids football or something like that, and there were other parents, right, all on the outside of the fence, right, you know, close to by the cars. And I kind of had to, like, you know, and they were set up like right on the sidewalk, so I kind of had to like jog around them. And as I'm jogging, right, I could see that they were making snickers, right, like kind of like laughing, mocking me. I couldn't hear exactly what they said, right, but I could definitely see the smirks, and I could definitely tell they were talking, and I could definitely tell they were looking at me, right? Now, and that it hits that shame core, it hits that insecurity, and I kept on running. And not that day, but maybe a little bit, maybe within the next couple of days, I started thinking about it. And, this is going to be challenging to share. I don't know they ever looked at me. I don't know if my mind imagined this. First off, there were two people sitting in the chair. That I'm 100% certain of. That I'm confident about. These people were real. But I don't know that their staring, their laughing, and their mocking was real. I truly believe that there is a scenario where my mind made that up. My mind saw it. That I saw them saying these things and laughing at me and mocking me and staring at me. But I think there's a chance they actually weren't. And even though this is really intense for me to share, right? I do so because I think it exemplifies just how deep rooted my insecurities and my shame really is. And if you have this disorder, or you know somebody that does, I think it's important that you understand how deep this insecurity, is rooted. And that's not the only situation. I have 3 kids, and the 2 oldest played hockey, and we were at a hockey tournament, and again, this is after I had lost a fair amount of weight, right? So there was a lot of loose skin, as well as going back to the man boobs, right? And the hotel we stayed at had an indoor heated pool, and I was doing swimming, right? Trying to do long distance. The pool wasn't very big, but just trying to do like a whole bunch of laps, to exercise. And I brought all kinds of like my swimming equipment with me. And there were 2 young kids. Maybe the one was 5, 6. The other was maybe like 9, 10. I don't know. Give or take. And, they're just doing their thing. Like jumping in the pool, jumping out. Neither of them could swim, right? So they just kind of like jump in, walk around a little bit, get out, jump back in, right? They didn't, just playing in the shallow end. No parent around. Right, which I thought was really odd. I imagine that the parents must have told the one that they were allowed to watch the other one, but not for me to judge, right? And it was fine. When they came down to the pool, I just went to the other side. I'm sorry, and I'm just swimming laps back and forth. They didn't really, they weren't intrusive, to my swim training at all. So after I finished, I got out of the pool to go get my towel. And just like the girls, I saw these kids laughing and staring, and I could hear them mocking me. I couldn't tell the words that they were saying, but I could hear it, right? And I could tell in their eyes and their snickers and their smirks, right? I could tell that they were looking at me and they were making fun of me. And again, not then, but maybe later that day or the next day, I started thinking about it. Man, these kids are just in a pool, and it's obvious they don't know how to swim. They don't spend a whole lot of time in the pool, right? I mean, this is something special for them, right? That's obvious, right? And that's starting to click. Why do I think they're even looking at me, right? So again, I'm 100% confident. At no point am I challenging whether or not, these 2 kids exist. These are real human beings. I imagine 2 human beings that aren't there. But I don't know that they ever smirked at me. I don't know that they were ever smiling. I don't know that they ever laughed. I don't know that they ever looked at me, right? But my mind saw it. My eyes saw it. My ears heard it, right? And and it hit at my soul, at my core, they went right to that shame, that guilt center, right? But I just don't know if it was real. Again, this is not easy, and this is definitely not comfortable to share, to tell people. You may have had what could have been borderline. Maybe not using the adjective. Again, not a licensed professional, right? But that's really tough for me to share. But I think it's important because you need to know just how deep these insecurities are. I mean, that shame, that guilt, that insecurity, it's deep, and it's hard to get rid of. It's really hard to get rid of, right? So if you or the person that you think may have this disorder or has been diagnosed with this disorder has my type, and again, very important, not all narcissistic personality disorder is alike, right? Mine comes from shame and guilt, right? So you may very well not experience anything even similar to this, because like I said, there are different types, right? And feel free, again, I'm not a licensed professional, so I don't want to throw out like the names of the different types and stuff like that, right? But there's a specific name for the type that I have, right? And if you have that type, or if the person you think has this disorder, or if they've been diagnosed has that type, they may have had similar experiences, and maybe this is helpful for you to understand how deep and how just ingrained that insecurity is, right? And you got to imagine that factors into everything. That factors into everything. That center, that core, wants me to fail at everything. It doesn't want me to succeed at anything, right? And that's part of the struggle with the disorder. Now, the good news, right? The good news is with that part of this disorder, I'm the only victim, right? The only abuse that I'm doing with that is to me, right? Like, so much of this disorder really is about me harming someone else and them being emotionally abused, right? So this part isn't. This part is about me, right? But I mean, how do you have a healthy life, right? How do you have healthy relationships? How do you have a healthy profession, right? When that center core is yearning for that failure, right? Where it's convincing, it might even be convincing you that things are happening that aren't even real, right? But what do, right? Again, I have a therapist. If you have this disorder, or someone that has this disorder, it's very important that they work with a therapist, right? And we have our what I like to refer to as a betterment, or our emotional wellness plan, right? So let's put ourselves into that scenario in the future. So what I'm trying to do is I'm slowly trying to work at that core shame, right? So the survivor's guilt. So that's something we're working on together, right? So we have some things I'm working on that are going to help to remove that survivor's guilt, right? Which will take away some of that shame. But the insecurity. So what do we do with the insecurity? So one of the things I do is, of course, I write down my affirmations, right? Mantras, whatever you want to call them. I put them on my mirror. I say them every morning, right? I actually have things that I scream while I'm jogging, right? That help me to deal with the insecurity and the shame. So what I'm hoping to do is, over time, is I'm hoping to change that narrative, right? I'm hoping that my mind stops believing those insecurities at my core, right? And I start replacing them. Like, that's the plan. But what happens if a situation like the two that I talked about happens, in the future? So here's what I'm going to do. So let's take the jogging one, right? So I'm going to go, I'm out jogging, and there's these two girls, and I see them laughing and I see them snickering, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, have I ever had a situation, similar to this? And I'm gonna think, yeah, you know what I mean? What about just like those kids kind of at the pool? And hey, do you have a disorder where you think that there's a chance that this might not be real? Oh God, yeah, I do. I definitely do. I've been diagnosed, right? The symptoms are what they are, right? Is there a chance that's what could be happening here? Oh, there definitely is. So I believe that they're laughing and snickering and mocking me. Is there anything else that they could be doing? Oh, definitely, right? Yeah. I'm over here saying that they're mocking and laughing at me, and I have no verifiable proof in any way, shape, or form. I have not heard a word that they've said, right? Is there a chance that my mind may be making this up? Oh yeah. We've already acknowledged that, right? I know that there's a chance because I can't verify that this is physically happening in reality, right? So at that point, what else can I do, right? I can start walking through my mantras, I can start going through my affirmations, right? Well, I know that that's feeding the insecurity, right? It's blowing up the insecurity monster. Well, how do I bring that insecurity monster, back down and try to change those thoughts in my mind? Hit myself with those affirmations, right? I'm saying them every morning. I have them memorized, right? And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to stop letting that insecurity just get as big as it wants, right? Because when that insecurity is running life, bad things are happening, right? It's convincing me that I don't deserve a good relationship. It's convincing me to not try for a promotion that I'm good enough to get because it believes that I'm not worth it, right? It's convincing me of all these terrible things. That's why we don't let those insecurities and that shame run our lives any longer. They did. Mine did, of course, I don't know the exact age this disorder started, but I'm 49 years old, right? I was a very young kid, at the time of the trauma. It happened after the trauma. The exact day, I don't know. But it's not like I spent a day, a week, a month, a year, letting this disorder live my life, right? I spent years and years, I spent centuries, you know what I mean? With these insecurities and this disorder running things, right? I don't want that anymore, right? I want to change the narrative. I know that how I did it before wasn't the right way. It wasn't what's best for my emotional wellness and the future that I want for myself and the future I want for people that I love and I care about, right? That's an important one, right? We don't just want better for ourselves. We want better for those that we love, right? We want those people that we're in relationships with. We want to treat them better, right? And we want to be successful for them too, right? I have kids. When I'm failing professionally, they're failing. When I can't provide for them financially, I'm failing, right? And when I'm letting this disorder run things, it wants me to fail. And that's part of that is it wants me to fail them, right? And I don't want that. I don't want my future to look like my past. So that's one of the things. We don't just want a better emotional future for ourselves. We want a better emotional future for those that we care about, for those that we love, for those that we're in relationships with, whether they're personal, professional, right? Romantic, whatever those relationships are, right? We want those relationships to be different. We want them to be better, right? And that's why we do this, right? And that's, where does it start? It first starts with acknowledging that we have this disorder. That's huge. That's huge, right? First, you got to own it. You got to acknowledge that you have it. The scary part is that does not happen all the time. They don't have statistics on it, but it is staggering. If they did, how many people have this disorder that are just not willing to acknowledge that they have it? And if you don't acknowledge you have it, nothing's going to change, right? So first, we need to own it. We need to acknowledge I have narcissistic personality disorder. Then we need to acknowledge I want my future to be better than my past, right? And that's what's going to put us into action. We got to get a therapist, right? We got to work with our therapist, right? We got to take accountability. So one of the things I do is I journal. I talk about my successes and my failures to my journal, right? Once I finish kind of letting you guys know all the stuff from my past, that's going to be my accountability. I'm going to make a weekly video and I'm going to just share my successes and my failures with you. And you're going to keep me accountable, right? So that's my plan, right? And I think that's the best way forward. You know, like I said, I call it, you know, my working towards, you know, my emotional wellness, you know, my future betterment plan. And that's how I'm tackling it, right? Thank you.